Is a home warranty worth the money? Should you put one on your home? Let's get into it.
Tell them who you're with, and my first question to you is, what does a typical home warranty cover?
Okay, so Susan Britter, First American Home Warranty. A typical home warranty is going to cover your major systems and appliances in your house.
Okay.
So we're looking at heating, air conditioning, water heaters and toilets and faucets, and electrical panel, and outlets and switches and fans and kitchen appliances, ductwork, garage door openers.
Everything within the inside of the house, not the
Yes,
exterior of the house, right?
Yeah, contained within inside the house. Now there's different options you can get if you have a well pump, or if you want your pool equipment covered, or if you have
Gotcha.
a septic system. And we have coverage for things like ornamental fountains for
Oh
somebody
my
who has
goodness,
a
I didn't know that.
fountain in a pool, or maybe they just have a pond
Wow.
with a big fountain in it, or something
Did you know
of
that?
nature.
I didn't know that.
I did.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I guess I'm learning.
Well, ponds are a recent addition where people have a beautiful pond, not a swimming pool,
Right.
but an actual
Like a koi pond.
like a
yeah.
koi pond. Okay,
yeah,
got
not the
it.
Beverly Hillbillies cement pond they used to call their pool.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a real one with fish in it and the whole 9 yards, but there's a big fountain in the center.
Got
So
it.
we have coverage now for that.
Oh, that's
fountain.
very-
So what typically will it not cover unless you put an extra coverage on?
Okay, so anything outside of the house. So, for example, plumbing. Plumbing lines are considered to be sewer lines, water lines, and gas lines. They need to be contained within the perimeter of the main house.
Got it.
So wall, ceiling, underneath, but within that perimeter, okay? Outside, not covered. We do have a little bit of extra coverage for plumbing lines outside. It's limited to $1,000, but still, $1,000 is $1,000.
So one of the things we see in our town, because we have quite a few older homes, is when people plant trees in bad areas in their yard, whether
Yeah.
it's front or back,
Yeah.
and you've got that sewer line that runs through, the roots and stuff get in. I mean, it's been there for
Yeah.
years, right? They get in
Yeah.
there. Will that $1,000 go toward that? Because
It can.
Okay.
It absolutely can go towards that. But if you need to replace the line
Yeah.
between the house and the street where it connects into the main,
Yeah.
it goes down the street, you could be easily looking at $8,000 or $10,000.
Yeah, it's very expensive
or,
anymore.
Or more, depending upon the length,
How far it is?
how big that lot is between, So it's still $1,000.
Still $1,000.
One of the things that I always suggest, and it's not really something that's done commonly, but in older neighborhoods where you do see, we all would love houses with beautiful landscaping, these big
Sure.
trees. They're beautiful,
Yeah.
right? But whatever, it's like they're like icebergs. Whatever's happening above ground is happening below
That's
ground.
right, that's
And
right.
depending upon the type of tree or bushes or whatever we're dealing with, you could have a lot of root intrusion. So let me just say, if I was buying a house, and if I was buying an older house, say,
Like in the Tower District.
I was going to say, over by Fresno High, in the Tower District, out by Roosevelt, there's a lot of different areas, or of a certain age. I, as a buyer, would be willing to spend $250, $300 on top of a home inspection to have the lines scoped.
Yes.
To make sure I don't have tree root intrusion. And I will say that definitely any home that's been vacant for any length of time, should have the lines scoped, because I get calls from these buyers of properties right after close, and it's usually this kind of magic 3 to 7 days, just in that time frame, where all of a sudden they'll have raw sewage backing up
Yeah.
into their kitchen sinks,
Yep.
into their shower. It's awful.
Yep.
So, I can't think of anything more awful than than maybe your house burning to the ground. Or
Yeah. Have
something
you ever
like
had that happen with your clients?
No.
We did on the flips, because the flips would be vacant
Yeah,
for a long
exactly.
time.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yep.
And so, of course, they're in a panic. It's not, that situation is just not covered by home warranty, because we don't cover the house between, the line between the house and
nasty.
the street. So they're calling the realtor's calling me, and please call my buyer, talk to them about it, and I do. And one of the first questions out of my mouth is, was this house vacant for any length of time? And I have to tell you, whenever I see this, within this time, right after close of escrow, 100% of the time, not
Yep.
even 99.9, 100% of the time, yes, the house has been vacant. So I think that buyers just need to know, if they buy a house, whether it's a flip, whether sellers moved out because they moved out of the area, wherever, been vacant for any length of time, it's a prudent thing to do to pay to get a licensed plumber out to scope the line and find out what is going down there. And sometimes when I say this, I get a little bit of pushback, like, oh gosh, this is kind kind of threatening to a transaction. This could be threatening to a seller. Well, here's the thing, it's all about disclosure, right? So buyer finds out they have this situation, and they might want to go back to the seller and say, hey, I want to spend $10,000 for a new line. Will you do it, Mr. Seller? And the risk is the seller says no. But if the buyer walks away, the seller now has a bona fide disclosure issue
Sure.
that the next buyer, they have to disclose it to. They're going to be asked the same question. They have this problem. They're going to have to address it one way or another.
Well, so I'm going to make this really simple for you guys. First off, as a good educated realtor, we should be suggesting that when our buyers are purchasing an older home or there's been trees out in those areas. We have to do our agent visual. Those are things that we can see with our eyes. And I have a plumber that actually does that. Depending on where he has to scope from, it can be between $200 and $300.
That's
Okay,
right.
and it is
Exactly right.
way worth that instead of your buyer getting into something where this happens. Okay,
Oh, absolutely.
so I'm going to put this back on the realtor. Even though we're educating the buyers right now, a realtor should know to suggest that.
Yeah, and when you get down in the Roosevelt, the Old Fig, the Tower District, a lot of those homes were built early in the 1900s, and so they used clay pipes to
even
connect the
worse.
sewer to the house, and the tree roots go right through those. Not as much with the PVC plastic. It's a little
Yeah.
No,
harder
but even
thing.
look at our house. My house was built in '90, and the city's out there because the trees that they planted
That they planted.
are all coming up. They're causing my sprinkler lines to break.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you know what they're doing to other things. And my whole water system is right next to the big trees, like
Of
my
course
water
they-
and sewer.
Of course, and all of these developments that were put in were they didn't think of the future of the trees.
No, they didn't.
And
They
what
didn't.
the trees were going to do, what they wanted were pretty fast-growing trees.
Yep.
Because they wanted to have a neighborhood look established, so to speak, as quickly as possible. Is very attractive to buyers, and it is attractive.
is, but
right?
it causes
Rather than
damage,
bare,
right?
Brown dirt ground. Wouldn't you rather have something beautifully landscaped with some mature trees? Absolutely, right? But like I say, whatever's going above ground is going below ground.
Yep.
It wreaks havoc, and so a lot of the trees that we planted in Fresno. I mean, I have a house with the most beautiful redwoods you've ever seen.
Oh,
Well,
my.
Redwoods are not native to Fresno. They're
No,
not supposed to
no.
be here. Require too much water. Roots are intrusive. And I have these big, beautiful, towering redwoods that probably host all kinds of wildlife, and I would feel guilty if I cut them down, especially a healthy tree. But I mean, already I can see cement starting to
Yep.
do the little, and you go, it's only a matter of
Also,
time
if
before
we've
my
noticed-
lights are destroyed.
They have fallen over this last couple years. We
Oh,
have had
sure.
a lot of them because the
Sure.
area I live in right here, and John lives in, we have a lot right over in here, and they have one hit on Bullard. Well, right before Fig, it actually hit the back of a house.
Oh,
So
wow.
it went over the back fence and hit the. So yeah, so you guys be careful when it comes to the trees. Ask your agent about potentially scoping out the line. Okay.
Just it's a prudent thing to do.
Yep.
To just know it's to everybody's benefit to know
What's
what's
going on
going
with
on, because most things can be handled as long as you know what it is. It's the not knowing what it is that puts everybody in a bad position.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
So we talked a little bit before we came on camera here, and I asked the question, what are some of the cons to having or not having a home warranty? And it seems like it became more of an education about expectations.
absolutely, for
So
sure.
talk about that a little bit.
So, as I was saying, there's not really a con to having a home warranty, because the home warranties are designed to save people money, and they save people a lot of money. But if the expectation is that you're going to get 5-star white glove service every time, that's just not going to happen. It's a home warranty is a process. It's not that you report a claim and 2 hours later the guy's out and the repair's done right then and there and you're good to go, unless it's something minor. There might be a couple day wait, even more than that, in the dead of summer. If you're in mid-July and you've got an air conditioner that goes out, you might have to wait a week to get a guy out. And I know it's hot, it's miserable. I was telling you about my own experience. We reimburse people for portable ACs and fans and things like that to kind of just keep them going. But a warranty is a process. So we take that claim and it goes out to a licensed contractor in the trade. They have to set the appointment. He comes out for the appointment, makes his assessment, makes his diagnosis. He's then got to submit a report, and this is the way it works for all home warranty companies. has to submit a report to the warranty company. The warranty company's got to look at it. They've got to approve the work that needs to be done, what the suggestion of the contractor is. And then we order the equipment. And one of the things I was telling him was that the only way that a home warranty company can offer the list of light items that we cover for the price that we do is that all of our parts and equipment we obtain at wholesale. We get them through suppliers, we get them through the manufacturer. We have arrangements ahead of time. We have departments that do this that say we think we're going to estimate as a company we're going to need 232,000 what we call package units or dual pack units, 3.5 ton this next year.
But if you have you can't always predict what's going to go out. Is that where we're going with this?
We predict as much as we can. We think we're going to need next year. Well, how about this year, where we're in October and we think we're in late July?
It's 103 yesterday.
And the hotter it is, the more units are going to go out. The more units are going to have to be replaced. So I can tell you right now, we had to predict the supplies that we were going to ask for. But the bottom line is, we go to Carrier, we go to all the various Lennox, we go to all the various different manufacturers of equipment and say, basically, what kind of a deal are you going to give us if we buy 200,000 of these from you? And that's how you can, again, get what we cover for the price we charge for home warranties. It's all negotiated on our back end pricing and also the labor rates we pay for the contractors that we use, which is why with a home warranty, you can't just go out and get your own person and get a job done and say, hey, where do I send this bill?
Right.
And it happens. So, I spent $20,000 on a new AC. Where do I send the bill?
But see,
you didn't use home warranty, so we can't reimburse you for
I'm going to stop you right there because a lot of this is going back to me on the agent that sold them that house.
Yeah.
Okay, and unfortunately, I always we're outside. I always emphasize, and you know this, John, about me. Call me. My clients call me. Like you can explain this to them when you close and everything. They remember 5%, right, of what you tell them, right?
Right.
But my clients call me a lot.
Yeah.
So when you call me, we can help this. So I want to ask something else. What is the cost? So we think about, we have to budget for our house payment and the insurance and the maintenance on our homes. What is the cost of a home warranty? Give me a cost of a home warranty, just regular home warranty, and then give me a cost of the pool, because a lot of people in this community have pools.
Right. I would say right around $600.
Okay.
With a pool, right around $800.
Right at 8. Okay.
And we just did one. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and it's typically on a real estate transaction paid through the escrow process.
Right.
Although if somebody's short, they're just really cutting it really, really close, because let's face it, people don't buy the minimum house they qualify for. They're going to buy the maximum house they qualify for.
This is true.
And in certain types of loans where they get some down payment assistance, they don't have a plethora of cash sitting around, but a home warranty is actually required in that case. But we do have many home warranties where they're ordered, and we just do a monthly payment.
So you have a monthly payment. So here, let me ask you this. We had one, and this is just an example. I reached out to you because my client called me and said, hey, we this is an older house. We think we want to put a home warranty on it. And they've had it for, I don't know, I'm trying to think, 6 months? Can they add a home warranty at that point?
I can put a home warranty on it anytime.
There you go. So anytime.
Anytime. No, I'm not sure I can afford, whatever the reasoning is. Whatever the reasoning is. But that change of ownership where you have new people in that property using things differently with different expectations than the prior owners, it might have been vacant. Who knows what it is?
Something always goes wrong.
If you take a look at our 1-year warranty that starts the day of close of escrow, lasts for a year, a disproportionate number of our claims that we're going to get in that year are in that very first month. They start moving in and things start leaking, or they stop up, or they
break. It's a house. It's older. It's like
it stops.
It's like a car. You don't know when something's going to happen with a car. I've had them where we put the home warranty on. We'll close on a Friday, and Saturday something's broke.
It worked until it broke.
It worked until it broke.
Well, that's it. And when people say, the seller must have knew something. I say, okay, we've all gotten a dead battery. Did we ever know our battery was going to go out?
You might have, but
most people
I
know.
just replaced one and I didn't.
Okay, most of us just pulled into the parking lot one moment and tried to pull out and our car wouldn't start. I mean, honestly, or we in our garage the next morning our car wouldn't start. There's no warning. Things just work one moment and they don't the next. And
So
that's
I
what
always
happens.
tell people, seller and buyer side, and like if the buyer asks for a home warranty to be covered, and the seller instantly, well, I'm not going to be living in a house. I don't want that. I don't want to pay for that. This is peace of mind for the seller as well, because like
Yeah.
what Susan just said, that buyer's going to instantly blame you that you knew. Okay.
Yeah, they do.
So I've noticed that since we put the home warranties on, that doesn't come back.
Yeah.
My buyers don't say, oh, well, they know they didn't disclose.
Right.
So they have something they can fall back on. Now, here's the other thing so here
That's,
I
by
am.
the way, is the sole reason why home warranties in the residential purchase agreement today, the car form, is for that reason.
For that reason.
That it automatically
Makes you make a decision.
automatically buyers just assume, oh, sellers must have known and not
Yeah.
disclosed it, or it wouldn't have gone out this soon
Yeah.
after close of escrow. That's the sole purpose of it, is because it just does, and it doesn't mean there's any culpability on the sellers. There's any culpability on behalf of
Right.
the realtors. You're just doing visual inspections.
You're
It's
just doing
not
visual.
you don't know any more about that property at that moment than the buyer does.
Correct.
It's not up to you to be able to predict or see
Yeah.
behind walls or
Yeah.
in concrete foundations or in attics or anything like that at all.
That's not my expertise, guys, okay?
It's not, and even unfortunately, a lot of buyers and sellers think that that's what a realtor does, but it's
No,
not.
it's not.
It's absolutely not. But that's the reason for it, so that the buyer is given an opportunity to make a decision to say, yeah, I want a home warranty.
So I want to make something kind of clear about this. When people say, oh my gosh, that's $600, that's $800, I'm going to tell you right now. Yesterday, I got a Dutch brother going over to watch. When I go watch my grandkids, I got to take an energy drink with me, okay?
Oh,
There's
yeah.
3 of them, okay?
Throw some extra
Yeah,
caffeine
please,
juice in
please.
there.
Yeah, a little extra of that Rebel
something
energy
like
drink in it.
that. Oh yeah.
But when you buy it, and I thought about this yesterday because I'm going to put my house is in need of a home warranty. I spent $7 yesterday on one medium drink. I spent $6 today. There's $13 already. If you break down how much money we actually waste on frivolous things
Oh, yeah.
when we could be protecting our homes,
Yeah, it's
right?
true.
You break that down. Do the math on it, guys.
It's true.
Right? It's worth the investment. Is my point.
Well, and
Okay.
your house is your biggest investment.
Sure it
so
is.
Why wouldn't you want to pay for something to protect your investment? I mean,
Yep.
I could just use myself as an example, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I work for a warranty company. I'm a homeowner. I have a home warranty. I've always had one on from my current house, 27 years. This year alone, 50-gallon gas water heater went out. It got replaced. I have 2 systems in my house, but one of my systems went out. 33 years old. It was time.
Oh wow.
Did its job.
I was gonna say.
And then some. But I had a split system, so we have an outdoor condensing unit, we have an indoor coil, and then also my heater had a crack in the heat exchanger because of its age. I was telling him this before you arrived. We were kind of talking about my own experience. There are some typically non-covered charges associated with replacements because codes and all kinds of things have changed since that equipment was put in, and now the new
Sure.
equipment is different.
Right.
So I had almost $4,000 in non-covered charges, but what they replaced at retail, the lowest cost it would have been was about $15,500. The highest
Wow.
cost at retail would have been $2,120.
And it cost you $4,000.
And it cost me $4,000. So we were all talking about expectations.
Yeah.
If the expectation is, oh, I'm just going to get it for free. I just did the warranty. I paid an $85 service fee. I did have these non-covered charges, but without a home warranty, I would have been on
15
my
to 20
own.
grand.
Right? That's a lot of
Now,
money.
Can the average family just come up and write a check for $18,000?
No.
Nope.
Especially not after just buying a house.
Not after just buying a house, but even at any time. Everything is so expensive now. Everything we do is expensive, and even if they did have a little bit of cash, is that not the least thing that you would want to write
Right.
a check for, as opposed to something, a home improvement or something fun like that? So, have I had years where I spent $600 or $700 on warranty and didn't use it at all? Yeah. But,
Yeah, but
nobody's going to be able to predict when that system is
No.
going to go out. And if I totaled up all the years and all the things that have been replaced in my house, it's still been a better bargain to me to have a home warranty on my house
Right.
than not.
It's called peace of mind is what it's
Yeah.
called,
I
is
mean, I
basically
can
it.
budget $700 and some odd dollars a year,
Yeah.
which is what mine costs.
It's $2 a day.
Right. And I can
Is
make,
that what it equates to? Yeah, and I between drinks and going out and buying clothes and shoes for me, I mean, I could easily do that. So
Yeah.
I have a question. I'm going to ask you, and then we'll let her step in because you've been kind of quiet in this. He's got
Yeah,
two
but
women
no,
here, right?
No pressure. No pressure.
So your client calls you and they've turned in a claim. We'll just say it's on the air conditioning system. You don't really know why, right? That's not, we don't know. But they've called you because you're their go-to person. You sold them the home. And they got pushed back and they said that the claim was denied. What would you do at that point?
Immediately pick up the phone, call Susan,
Exactly.
Yeah.
and say, find out why.
Right.
Exactly. And it's happened before that someone looks at something on like a home inspection and say, oh, it wasn't working. Well, no, it was. There was, and air conditioners are kind of the catch-all
The
for
big
this.
thing, yeah.
I had one, and I don't think it was with you guys, where the condensate line, which is basically a PVC pipe that
Right.
runs out of the unit and drips the water onto the ground, right?
Right.
It was cracked, and so they called, and the home warranty company said, no, there was a flaw in the unit, and we're not gonna fix it. And so I called the rep, and I don't think it was you guys.
Well, shame on you, Johnstone.
Well,
And
that's your first problem right
well,
there.
I don't get to control
See what we do?
exactly
We put it-
who they,
yeah, we put him on the hot
I
seat,
can
right?
Suggest, but I called the rep and I said, I know a little bit about this home inspection and what they said. I said that's ridiculous. It has nothing to do with the operation of the thing.
Yeah.
She says, you're right, and they got it fixed. So
Okay.
like you, I always tell them, hey, look, do
Call
what
me.
you're supposed to do on the home warranty. Let me know, and then if things aren't going well, let me call the local rep.
Yeah, I
And-
can't
and we'll
promise.
get-
I always say I can't promise anything, right?
No,
I
we'll
bet,
we'll
but that's
get-
why
we'll get a
we
good
have
answer.
people like Susan,
Correct.
because she's that kind of go-between. Because sometimes it's something. Sometimes it's as simple as you call into a call center or you type in that you've got a claim, and the verbiage is not what the call center wants to see, right? Even
Yeah,
though you
I
might.
mean, absolutely. There's a finite list of like what your claim should be, but yet your claim isn't any one of those exact
Right,
things,
right.
or the result of the diagnosis isn't exact. And the thing about it is that, well, twofold. These are independent contractors, third-party independent
Mm-hmm.
contractors. They're licensed in the trade, but you're going to get somebody's individual assessment of what they think.
Right.
If you could get 3 different guys out,
Three
they're
different
going to have 3
opinions.
different opinions.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all. Second of all, the buyers of properties, homeowners, start talking, and they don't know what they're talking about. And I will say, just stop talking. Just don't say anything. Just stop. And just let them make
John
their,
says that a lot to people. Okay.
just make their assessment, because then they just start getting into the weeds, and then they're feeding this information, and it all just completely backfires. But the thing about having a rep and a rep with experience like myself is that this is what I do all day. I can practically, when somebody's trying to explain something to me, a realtor or a buyer, I can almost say, you don't even need to finish your sentence.
That's right. You already got
I
it.
know exactly what happened. I know exactly where this went. I know exactly what I need to do to get the train back on the tracks and get something covered or whatever it is that we're talking about it. Because, you know, there's, I say there's a finite number of things that can happen in the home warranty world. It's a very long finite list, but every time I say that, I get something real
Weird.
wackadoodle. So today will be the day. But I have dealt with, for decades, problems on properties and can figure out, I mean, there are times when it's just flat something we don't cover. Let's say somebody says, oh, my air conditioner is not working. And it won't go on at all, or it's not producing cold air. And we go out there and we find that the evaporative coil has been removed. And it's not even there. Yeah, that could be why your air
Be a
conditioner's
problem.
not working. We're not going to cover missing equipment. So it's not as though every call to me can result in something that's going to be covered, because we don't cover, home warranties just don't cover missing parts or missing equipment. And maybe it's something that's been damaged by pets or pests, you know, maybe equipment's
Yeah,
in an
yeah.
attic and it's been eaten away by rats and
Mice.
and there's raccoons up there and opossums up there and they wreak havoc and, you know, that kind of thing.
Well, so my
it's not common, but it happens.
Right, but there's. Okay, we're about done here because all these flies. But what my point is that when I send you over, because you send me a PDF form, so I send that over to my clients, and I say in an email, because I want to make sure you read this over. Please read what's excluded, right? Because we can't promise everything.
Yeah.
And please read all of that before you decide you want something. And if it doesn't fit your criteria, then don't order it. But I'm going to go back to this again. Consumers need to read what the fine print is. They need to read the brochure that we send, right? So that you know, so that you're not, we talked about the other day, I don't like to be blindsided by anything. But if I didn't read it and I feel I'm blindsided, that's my own darn fault because I didn't read it, right?
I think probably the biggest one, because the air conditioning industry has changed so much and so fast that
yeah.
As I was telling him before, changing again.
Oh boy.
So,
As of January 1st.
substructure is one of those things that's not covered. It's just what it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of rules and regulations, federal things related to HVAC, but also our state has its own, and then the county has its own, and then the city has its own, and then if you're in an HOA, they're going to have their own, and so it's not necessarily cookie cutter for everybody what needs to happen in their specific project or job in replacement. That's why it's not easy. Like when an AC goes out and we replace it, it's not as easy as, you wear a size 7 shoe, pluck it off, put a new one on, you're good to go.
Yeah, it doesn't work
It's
out.
like, oh, no. The foot's changed. The ankle has to be changed now. The knee that's connected to that has to be changed too. And this is all governmental regulations. It has nothing to do with what any of us want. It has to be done. It's just the way it is. And it's not getting better. That's definitely getting worse.
So I go back to this all the time. As the agent for the consumer, we need to explain to them, because the consumers don't understand. My dad was a contractor. Things were constantly changing. Codes
so you
were
grew up
changing.
knowing that.
Yeah, but my normal client, unless they're affiliated with it, they have no clue.
No.
They don't know. So you have to let them know or educate them, or if they call and they're upset about how something didn't get taken care of, you know what? Did you find out if the codes have changed? What was the reasoning? Like, you have to find this out. They don't know, right? So if you know a little bit as their agent, enough to kind of ease their mind, because I always say a lot of times we diffuse our clients, like we diffuse that situation when they get all riled up. I kind of think we're kind of like a little bit like police officers, how they're supposed to come out and diffuse the situation.
Yeah.
We don't instigate it. We don't push it to the forefront. We try to make it as smooth as possible.
Right.
So, like, we need to all work hand in hand and all be on the same page when it comes to this stuff.
That's exactly right. And certainly a buyer would probably, they're not going to know. They're not going to know what's changing. You're going to have some information, but it's what I do for a living.
Right, exactly.
And so either I know right off the bat in our conversation, or I'm going to, every thing is unique and different to that specific home and what's being done at that home. But I can get that explanation for that client.
Yeah.
And I can call them and say, okay, here's what's going on, and here's what I want you to understand. This is how it works. Especially for a first-time home buyer.
Yeah.
They never have really had to have that information before, because they would call a landlord who would just come out and make sure that something was fixed.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And now it's their property. They own this. They need to understand about this, and I can get an explanation for them.
Yeah. So Susan's been in how many years now?
39. Next year will be my 40th year.
Nobody knows more than she does.
You started when you were 10?
I did. I know. That for a long child
Oh, good
labor
one,
laws
John.
have changed. They have changed. I was actually
You're gonna-
8. Get it right.
You're going to eat a fly. John's going to eat a fly in a minute when he's laughing, right?
No, a very, very long time. So I have seen these changes over decades and decades and decades, and I've just seen it get more and more complicated as time goes on, because everything has gotten more complicated as time goes on. But again, it's like setting expectations. You buy a home, something needs to be replaced. It could be a little more complicated than you think.
Yep.
None of us like it. Trust me, nobody likes it. It's the way it is. We just all work together so everybody understands what's going on. What part are we doing? What part do they have to pay for? What are the ramifications of getting this done? But again, it's a biggest investment. So even though I had some out-of-pocket money for my HVAC, I have a brand new system on my house. great for my investment.
4,000 is better than 18,000, guys. Like, I mean, truly, think about that. Like, I can't even
Absolutely.
imagine, right? So, yeah. So, you guys, we're really glad that Susan came out and
Yes,
hung
thank you
out,
very
and,
much.
Thank you
and
for
we're
having
batting
me.
away the flies because we're outside and it's going to be what, another 100 degrees today? Yeah. So it's going to
Yeah.
be warm again.
Welcome to October in Fresno,
I
California.
know, right? I
Right.
was so hoping, but hey, that's okay. We'll appreciate when it does cool down,
Yeah.
right?
And maybe
So
in the wintertime I'll come back and we can talk about heaters.
there we go. That's what we'll do.
That's
Okay.
a whole different ballgame than
Okay.
air conditioners.
As always, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and share it with someone that might enjoy this information.
It's good information, guys. It really is.
Yes.
And we'll
Bye,
talk
guys.
to you next week.
Thank you.